Hey there, dear viewers. I'm glad you guys really liked my previous two Planetside videos. The compilation one and the Infiltrator one. Those were really fun to make, really fun to play. I'm still a little bit congested. I feel fine, but my voice sounds like I'm still a little bit congested. It's because I am. Anyway, this video is my first experience with Hossen. Well, okay, technically my second. My first experience was a brief little soiree into a little bit of air battle out here before I moved on to a different continent. But this is my first real session on Hossen, where I get into some infantry play and some air play. And I'm going to keep the commentary down tone on this one. I've got a mug of tea. I don't want to get too verbose because kind of want to keep things rather chill, and I also want to make sure not to strain my voice too much. So anyway, a lot of this is not going to be tips and tricks or anything like that. It's just some Planetside gameplay. I will mention some things that are worth noting. For the most part, I just wanted to share my first full session on Hossen with you guys. And yes, I'm able to make this tremendous jump because I have the safe landing implant on my Infiltrator loadout. And I think it's a very good implant for infiltrators because it feels a lot like a single-player stealth game, where often your character will get abilities to let them make long falls and stuff, and it comes in really handy here in Planetside as well. Any case, here we're just sneaking up behind some TR. I don't know the layouts of any of these bases. I don't know the best places to take cover or any of that kind of stuff. So there's that. I don't have a whole lot that I can really say in that regard. But Hossen is gorgeous. I am really liking the graphical style of this continent. I sort of like the flow. I haven't spent too much time here. And if you paid attention to the map earlier, and as it pops up throughout this video, you'll see that the NC are kind of cornered right now. So I didn't get to experience too much of the continent or how well it flows from base to base. Look at this long jump, and that barely drained my shields. I didn't take any health bar damage from that. We can see that in the lower right. But for the most part, I'm really liking Hossen. There's one part here, and I'll point it out. There's one part here, and I'll point it out when it comes up, where I think I got stuck in some place, and I had to use this weird wall running technique to get out. You know, I'll point that out when it comes up. So we just defended our facility from the TR here. And as an infiltrator, I have no way of taking out vehicles and such. Spot this lightning. And I see that friendlies are taking it down. So I'm just trying to put sensor darts down to try and get some vision on the map in case anything is trying to back up this lightning. I don't know, give my forces some intel. And now I'm chasing after this lightning because it's on fire, and if the engineer or the driver pops out, I'd like to be able to get a shot off on him. Or her. But, yeah, as you can see, the NC are kind of backed up here. The facilities here that I got to experience are really well made. I read some forum posts and things like that from SOE, from developers, or, I don't know, their community managers or whatever. I read something from Sony talking about how they want the facilities here and the continent layout and all that stuff to be the new bar that they set for all future content for the game. And I think that's a very good bar to set, because the facilities here are very interesting. The fights in them go well. I found that whether you're infantry or in the air, things just kind of feel good on Hossen. And graphically it looks gorgeous. I like the way lights scatter and are intensified by the fog of this place. Something also that's kind of new is that there's water on Hossen. There's not water on any other continent. There's ice on Esamir, but there's no water. And there's actually water here on Hossen. I think that's cool. good looking foliage. Maybe a little bit of it could use a little bit of work, but I think anything that looks kind of rough around the edges is a choice, a design choice they made for performance. I am not having any trouble with this graphically gorgeous continent, but my machine is kind of a beast, I will admit. And I realize not everybody has that luxury, and I'm sure SOE does as well, so while they probably could make some of these things, like these little purple flowers I just ran by, look a little more lush, I'm sure that they did not for the sake of performance. Anyway, when I was approaching this facility, what I'm kind of doing right here is I'm trying to get a feel for how this facility flows. I saw a staircase leading up, and the fight takes place on the upper levels for the most part at this facility. I did see a staircase leading up, but I wanted to run around and underneath the lower levels and see what the base is actually, see how it's actually laid out before I jump straight into the fight. And it's just kind of an exploration thing. I want to see places to hide, I want to see vantage points. I want to see if there are other ways up, or if there are natural choke points built in. There I put a sensor dart down because I heard an enemy infiltrator. I throw a sensor dart right at my feet to try and get a feel for if he's chasing me or something like that. I do have maxed out sensor darts, so they have the maximum number of pulses at the highest frequency for the longest duration, which means I can use them in ways like that to prevent people from getting the drop on me. So here's that staircase that I saw earlier. I finally decided to make my way around to it. I spot this engineer, and I'm going for a kill, but another infiltrator on a flash takes him out with his... I'm not even sure what kind of weapon that is. I know it's an explosive weapon. I think you can get a variant of that weapon on the Harasser. I think I've used it before. But yeah, it's an anti-infantry explosive device, or explosive launcher. Anyway, by the time I make it up to this facility... Oh, look at this room. I really like how all this looks. And the infantry fights here must be fantastic, but I missed out on most of it because I was exploring the lower levels and getting a feel for the base. But now that I'm up here, the fighting obviously has already stopped, and we've got the TR pinned in their spawn room, which is over to the southeast there on the map, or just directly ahead on screen. And I want to go hack that... Oh, here's somebody. I like this little move that I pull here. I stealth, and then I stop. Come out of stealth, and then finish him, or help finish him off. A lot of infiltrators will just keep moving after they stealth to avoid getting shot at, to avoid getting hit. Oh, and here I make use of my safe landing implant again. There were two people coming at me. I took one out, and then I jumped down for safety. But a lot of infiltrators will stealth, and then they'll zigzag around, and end up getting shot more while they're stealthed, because enemies who are firing on infiltrators, who see infiltrators suddenly disappear, are going to just kind of spray the general area. They're not going to spray where they're not going to expect the infiltrator to stop. So there is that. So I decided to just stop, crouch, and let him fire in the general area I was in, and then take him out. So anyway, that happened like 30 seconds to a minute ago at this point. I'm still talking about it. That's one thing I found about this base earlier, is that vehicle spawn terminal can't be hacked by an infiltrator, because I found that the pain field, or the suppression field, which prevents you from getting too close to spawn points, is really far out on this base. So as soon as you pass these steps here, the pain field goes off and you can't get to that vehicle terminal as an infiltrator. It's kind of interesting. I wonder if that was a design choice or not. It does remove one potentially hackable terminal for infiltrators, but at the same time it also creates a more reliable vehicle terminal for those who hold that position. So I don't know, it's kind of weird. I don't know if they did that intentionally or not. Either way, there are ups and downs for both offense and defense. So actually, there's ups for defense and downs for offense there. Look at these lights. Everything looks great on Hossen. Enemy Liberator up above. Trying to figure out where I should go next. Open up the map. Set my waypoint over at what looks to be the natural progression here. But then I read in chat that they need help at Zots. So I'm looking around the map for Zots, and there it is. So I say, okay, well, if I want to get into that Biolab, I'll start over here at Zot's North Garden and see if there's any help that I can provide there. I set my waypoint at that location, and decide to take my flash over there. My waypoint is behind me at this point, so I turn around, and I'm like, wait, there's just nothing but like a sheer rock face here, or a sheer wall behind this base. And I learned that because I ran around it for a while during the fight. So I need to take the longer way out. I could stick to the road, but this is an ATV, and look at, man, look at that sunlight just pouring through the leaves and branches. I don't know if this must be sunrise. In this sunrise on Hossen. So this is an ATV. I decided to stay off the road. I can stealth if I need to, but I should be able to go directly to my location in many cases using an ATV. And here's the point where I actually get stuck. I'm able to make this jump and then fall into this little, I'm not even sure what you would call it, what the proper word for this little area is. I don't know, but it's kind of like a little bowl. And my waypoint is right on the other side of this wall. But infantry can't get over this wall. Maybe there's a way back the way I came. Oh, there's a enemy liberator up above. I've got to be careful. So I stealth. And you'd think you'd be able to make it through right there, but you can't. So what I have to do, and I learned this from a Rel video, is you kind of have to do this wall running glitch. I'm not sure it's a glitch. It's just something that you can use as infantry in this and apparently other games. It's just how the engine works or what have you. To actually run along the wall, you've got to keep yourself facing the wall. You've got to stay looking forward. You can't look up or down, or you'll slide down. But you got to keep yourself your vision kind of level. Keep yourself facing the wall. It feels natural when you're doing it for the most part, I found. But it just looks a little strange because I kind of am just clinging to the wall here. And now because I have safe landing, it's okay for me to just take these jumps. And that's how I was able to get to this facility. The ATV apparently was not an effective way of doing so. Unless I took the roads, which would have taken a lot longer. Well, I guess since I had to wall run out of that little trapped area there, it took longer doing that, but that's the lesson learned. So anyway, that's an accidental grenade throw, by the way. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to stealth while I look at the map. And I want to get inside Zots, but I don't want to run it on foot, and my experience with Planetside has taught me that Biolabs have satellite outposts. I'm in such a satellite outpost, and these satellites have teleporters that lead into the Biolab. So just like every other Biolab in the game, I'm going to take the teleporter to get into that fight. But before I do so, I want to restock on my sensor darts, so I'm going to head over here. Teleporter's just in this room. Not a huge fight going on in here. And I saw that on the map too, that it was not a huge fight. But there was somebody calling for assistance, so I decided to show up, and that's why I'm here at this fight. Putting sensor darts around, looking around for enemies. I see someone in here. This guy's shotgun is kind of crazy. I got two shot by that shotgun of his. He's battle rank 75, so I'm pretty sure he knows how to use that thing. I did end up getting the kill, I think. I think that's the guy that just took down. Get rezzed by a medic. And here, I hear an infiltrator decloak, and I see him on the map. I've got a sensor dart down, I'm looking for him. But he gets the drop on me, in much the way I was trying to do to him. He actually has a motion spotter here. So he was watching my movements the whole time, too. I don't want to respawn at that Sunderer, and I'm contemplating respawning back at the North Garden over here. But I also see a medic that's pretty near the location where I fell. So, I decided to just wait for him. He rezzes me up. We got 17 seconds left on this cap. We'll take this over. We'll defend this place. There's that motion spotter. In case you're curious, infiltrators can choose to forego their sensor dart gun and instead pick up a motion spotter, which is basically a longer range, I think it's a longer range, but which is basically a sensor dart that lasts longer. It's great for defensive positions and things like that. Sensor darts are fairly short-lived. Motion spotters can last quite a while, so they have some trade-offs. It depends on what kind of play you want to, or what kind of situation you're up against. So here we're going to get into some airplay. I pull my Reaver. I know that I have not switched over to Engineer, so I know that I don't have the option of landing somewhere safe and repairing if I get into trouble. But I just wanted to take to the air. I figured maybe I can land at a different outpost and switch to Engineer at some other point. I just didn't feel like running back into the Biolab and doing that. Taking a little bit of a risk here. I want to see what the air game is like on Hossen. See an enemy gunship. And here I begin using my M20 Mustang on the recommendation of Stan the Cat. We'll talk more about that in a second. But I'm chasing after this gunship whose tail gun is firing on me with hyena missiles or hyena rockets or whatever. And I am not deterred by that. I chase it down, finish it off, and turn back around to try and clear out the Engineer. He hides behind this flaming rubble, which was a really good move on his part. I liked that. Oh, and I nearly clipped this tree. Wasn't expecting that. Hossin's got some really tall trees, and this guy jumps off and commits suicide, falls over the wall or something. I don't know. I'm not sure how he died, actually. He shouldn't have taken damage from a drop that low. And I didn't get credit for the kill, so I actually don't know what happened to him there. I can only assume he did take a little bit of fall damage. Maybe the explosion from the Liberator dealt most of it, and then he took like a fraction of his health on that fall, and that was it. Anyway, he'll be respawning in a second, so it doesn't really matter, and I didn't get credit for it, so whatever. Anyway, Stan the Cat from a couple videos ago, a couple Planetside videos ago, that compilation video, something, I think I called it, Just a Bunch of Awesome Stuff, that's the title. He recommended that I try the M20, the default Reaver weapon. This is the weapon that you get when you first pick up any Reaver. Oh, that's a nice headshot right there. I kind of want you to go back. I'm not going to edit anything in, but I'd kind of like it if you go back and see that, because that's kind of awesome. I just had a couple of pixels worth of that guy's character model, just the very top of his helmet, and I was able to put an M20 round in there. I like the M20 more than the Vortek, and this is getting a little bit more advanced for those of you who know what these weapons are. But the Vortek, which is the weapon I've mostly been using... See, I'm able to pick off this infantry from so far away. Just picking off infantry like crazy. So anyway, the Vortek is an air superiority gun, and technically so is the M20. But the Vortek has a much smaller ammo capacity, much smaller magazine size. Ah, I didn't get that guy. I'm watching this for the first time after playing it, so you and I are kind of in the same boat right now, viewer, except for the fact that I kind of know what's coming. Kind of know what happened. And the M20's advantage is that it's got better sustained fire, and as he said, it's more of a well-rounded weapon, rather than the Vortek, which is a very niche weapon. But we are going to see the disadvantage to the M20 later. However, if you are a Reaver pilot, or, you know, an ESF pilot of any variety, I think my recommendation would be, if you want to go air battles, you might want to try your rotary, which in this case would be our Vortek for the NC. But if you want to play like a support role, the M20 or your default gun is probably a good choice. Now here I get into a little bit of trouble. This is one of the disadvantages to the M20, is that it's not really all that great in these up-close, very scrappy dogfights. I've got a Liberator firing Dalton rounds at me from above, with a Mosquito following me, and I pop into the reverse thrust remover, avoid the tank buster rounds from the Liberator, And while I'm landing a lot of rounds... I got hit by a Dalton. While I'm getting a lot of rounds off on that Mosquito, that Dalton gunner, Battle Rank 99, is a very experienced player, was able to finish me off once his pilot missed with the Tank Buster, the front-mounted gun of the Liberator. The pilot turned the main cannon, which is the Dalton, over on me, while I was in pretty much a sort of stationary position trying to pick off that Mosquito. In any case, in that situation, you would want the Vortec instead, because you're in a dogfight. The Vortec deals a lot of burst damage, and it gives you time to maneuver in between reloads and things like that. It's a very fast-paced, very scrappy weapon, whereas the M20 Mustang is more of a support gun, longer sustained rate of fire, still very good at taking out aircraft and some ground targets. But in that particular situation, you would want the Vortec in any kind of dogfight, really. Not any kind of dogfight, but many dogfights. So anyway, that's what happened there. And I think there's another fight later on where that is also illustrated, where I would rather have had the Vortec. But overall, I think the M20 is going to be my go-to gun, because I don't really play the dogfight style. I'm not in it in the air to go for aerial kills. So here is that, I think this is that same Liberator. Not certain, but I guess I could go back and look, but I don't know. Being fought by two of us. Now see how I can support this other Reaver? That other Reaver I'm pretty sure has a Vortec and is dealing a lot of burst damage, while I, from a medium to long range, can provide sustained damage fire on the enemy. And I think that's the way to go with this particular setup. I was flying around earlier on Esamir, actually, with my buddy Ginger with the Golden Reaver. You guys may remember him from previous videos. And the M20 was doing really well there too. So if you can fly with other pilots who are using their rotary guns, this is probably a good setup. And you want to play the support role. It's a very good way to do it. M20 and Afterburners. So I like the air game on Hossen so far. That jungle cover of all the trees and things like that reduces the amount of Sky Guards and Burster Maxes, the number of Sky Guards and Burster Maxes, and ground lock-ons that can be effective against you, because there's a lot of terrain to duck around. There are a lot of branches and trees to break their locks and things like that, and break line of sight. So the air game is actually kind of nice out here, and I don't think they really intended that. Or maybe they did, actually, because there is a lot of sky on Hossen. Because Hossen itself is very low elevation.
This area is restricted.
So we've got some TR in a spawn room here. See how I can provide support with the M20 from here? Now you could have done that with the Vortec as well, but I feel like the M20 has better bullet velocity, so it's a little bit more accurate at longer ranges than the Vortec is. So I'm able to provide support fire to my infantry from up here. Maneuvering's kind of iffy whenever you get into these low elevation areas as an ESF, or I guess even as a Liberator or even a Galaxy. I guess a Galaxy would be kind of hard to fly around out here, unless you're really high.
Spotted an enemy heavy.
I think Hossen has this kind of natural split between ground and air because of the canopy of trees. Because as you can see, there's a lot of sky up there, and we have like a decent way to go before we hit the flight ceiling. So it feels like there's an air battle going on that's almost untouched by the ground battle, and I feel like a lot of times there's a ground battle going on that's almost untouched by air. So it's a unique continent in that regard. Indar is a very balanced continent. It's got a good air game. It's got a good ground game. There are some problems with flow, I feel, on Indar, as far as the lattice system going from base to base. Amerish is a good air battle continent, and the ground battle is kind of difficult to maneuver in on Amerish. But that's intended, because there are a lot of mountains, there are a lot of roadways, there are a lot of natural choke points on that continent. That's what they wanted to do. So Amerish is a really good continent for air. I feel like the air game there is really cramped, it's really tight, it's really scrappy, it's really upfront on Amerish, so that's a certain type of play that you can engage in there. Esamir's ground game is really good. I really like Esamir's tank game. Esamir's got a lot of open fields of snow. Tank battles can engage there freely. There's terrain that they can drive around, duck behind. There are roads to follow. And as far as the air game on Esamir is concerned, there's a lot of air there. There are those big purple crystal formations that you can duck around. So Esamir's got a really strong ground game and a fairly open air game. But Hossen, I don't know. I feel like it has yet to be defined for certain. But Hossin's got the ground game, and it feels separated from the air game. And I kind of like that. I need to spend a little bit more time out here to be certain that that's actually the case, but it's pretty fun so far. I know a lot of this may be going over the heads of a lot of my viewers because I feel like there are a lot of players, or there are a lot of people, potential players, I will say, viewers, who want to get into Planetside 2, but cannot for one reason or another. It might be because the game has an absolutely abysmal method of teaching players how to play the game. So players get in, they get really confused, they don't know where to go, they don't know what to do, they have no idea what class to play, how to play that class, nothing. Players just don't know anything if they're new to it. It helped if you had a Planetside 1 background jumping in here, or if you played in beta or whatever, or if you have someone to teach you, but if you don't have those things, or if those things don't come easy to you, then Planetside 2 is just so difficult to get into. So it could be that, or it could be the game's high system requirements. That's another thing. I hear that performance on the server to a lot of clients is pretty bad sometimes. I don't know. I can't confirm that one. I'll get back on that topic in just a second. Here we've got an enemy liberator being pursued by a friendly Reaver here, and that Reaver is smoking, launching his breaker rockets down on him. And I find that the M20 here, look what I'm doing. I'm landing every shot on this, just about every shot on that liberator, and it dealt so little damage there. So I call this more of a support weapon. But if you can get a full volley off on something, it is going to do well. So this mosquito comes and takes out the friendly Reaver, leaving me against it, and soon the enemy lib. So now I'm engaged in another one of these up-close dogfights. I've got good positioning, I've got good control. I'm landing shots with my Mustang on the mosquito. I'm avoiding enemy shots very well. By all means, I should have had a much better position in this fight than I actually did, but I'm forced to run, I'm forced to leave, because I don't have my Vortec and I don't feel comfortable engaging for too much longer. So I go through some fancy maneuvers here, nearly hit a tree on my way down this tech plant, and then I pull a reverse thrust maneuver without going into third person, and as a result end up smashing into a tree. I feel like I may have been able to avoid that if I had gone into third person to pull my reverse thrust maneuver, but instead I reverse thrusted in first person, low on Hossen, and I guess the result of that equals tree. So that's what happened. Is this it? Is this the end of the video? I think this is it. I think I cut it off here. Yeah. What's the duration? Yeah, it's about 28-minute session stats. Earned 57 certification points there. 9 kills, 4 deaths for a KD of 2.25. In any case, I'm going to finish up that one thought I had about players. Well, you know what? I probably should just say I hate. No, I'll go ahead and finish it up. Maybe I'll record some extra footage and tack it onto the end here, because I'm actually out of footage for this session. But in any case, you should be seeing a little bit of extra footage now as I record through the rest of this part. What I wanted to say is that new players have such a hard time getting into Planetside 2 for any number of reasons, and that hurts the game a lot. And as a result, I feel like a lot of people watching Planetside 2 are interested in the game but don't really know what's going on because they don't play it, they can't play it sometimes. But they really like how it flows. I find that whenever I make Planetside 2 videos, I like to make it so that I'm not talking to the experienced players specifically. This video had a lot of talk about the different continents and the flows and weapons and things like that, so yeah, it's a more intermediate to advanced video as far as the content is concerned. But for the most part, I like to make it so that I explain things clearly, either through annotations or through commentary in a Planetside 2 video, so that anybody can watch and enjoy and see what's happening and they can see why what just happened on screen is important and what it means for the player, the enemy, the battle as a whole, and the continent at large, and what it means for the different factions and things like that. I like to make sure people understand all that stuff, because there's a lot of cool stuff going on in Planetside 2 that just gets completely missed if you're watching just footage. It's easy to see somebody running around with a gun and getting a lot of kills, or running or flying around in an aircraft and doing a lot of really neat things like maneuvers, and just it's easy to see just in general a lot of really cool stuff in Planetside 2, but not know what that stuff really means or what is actually happening. And so I try to keep things a little bit more on the newbie friendly side in almost every video, because I feel like there's a larger audience of people who don't know what's happening compared to people who do know what's happening, because Planetside is having some trouble, I would assume. I would think getting new subscribers or getting new people to play. It's not even subscribers, it's a free-to-play game. And really anybody should be able to get into this. But the game does such a terrible job of teaching people how to play that a lot of people just miss out on a lot of this really cool stuff, and so that's why I try to explain a lot of this stuff. If this is if you're seeing this video and you haven't seen my In the Shadows of Zurvan Infiltrator video, you should check that out. I'll put a link up on the screen and in the video description. I think that video does a good job of doing exactly what I said earlier, and that is showing Planetside 2 gameplay and what all of it means as it's happening on screen. So in any case, I didn't mean to turn that into a plug for another video. It's just a topic that I wanted to talk about. Anyway, this was my first experience on Hossen, and I'm not certain that the footage you're seeing now is Hossen, but it probably is. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.